everybody, it's Serena here at Mountain Mystic Church. I have a video for you today all about vocation, how precious it is, the things that sometimes hinder us and get in our way, especially as wives, mothers, and homemakers, if that is your vocation. And I wanted to talk about my specific struggles and what I have learned through this decluttering process I've been doing over the last 2 years in our home. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Rhiannon again, and I do videos all about vocation, our Catholic faith, homeschooling, homemaking, and everything in between. So if you don't know what a vocation is, as a Catholic, a vocation is something that's gonna help to draw you close to the Lord in your life, the thing that's really gonna do that. This is a total baby summary. It's gonna bring you closer to God, and there are different vocations. So one of them is the priesthood or the religious life, maybe like being a religious sister or a priest. And then there's also the vocation of marriage, and it is also a holy vocation. And then there's single, living in the world, working and giving to God in other ways. Each one is precious, and each one is a way in which that specific person, or in marriage, those two people, are going to draw closer to God and kind of work out their salvation with fear and trembling, which is biblical, and it's so beautiful. So one of the things that comes with the vocation of marriage, I always think of the verse, I think it's in 2 Timothy, but it talks about how we'll kind of work out our salvation as mothers through motherhood, as long as we persevere in, patience and love and modesty and things like that. If I can remember to put that verse in the scripture box below, I will do that later. But anyway, so one of the things that I really struggled with in my personal life walk, and then also in my vocation, is one of the vices that I struggle with is obsession. I obsess about things, or I have in the past. That's like a vice that I struggle with. If you want to combat a vice, you combat it with a virtue, and obviously prayer. So one of the virtues that I have worked really hard on is perseverance. That's one of them. And temperance. Temperance is really important, I think, for someone like me who tends to overbuy and get really into something. So those are the two things. And also there's another part I read about in the Bible long ago, and it said, in times of joy, have prudence. That has really helped me a lot. So one of the things that I've learned during this process of decluttering is that throughout the years, there has been one thing that has been really hard for me. I'll be going along in my vocation, our everyday routine, loving my husband, loving our children, homeschooling, dropping big kids off at school or picking them up, just like everyday, homemaking, all that stuff. And there's always been this little nagging voice inside of me that's like, if you don't buy things or make new things or get excited about things or obsess about things, you will be miserable. You will be miserable in your vocation. Like, that has been in my head for years, and I've fought it. I've struggled with it. Is it me? Is it something else? Like, just for years. And one thing I found was, as I got older and I started watching like these old 90s movies with my kids, or just like remembering these movies, I recognized there was so much like feminism in them. And I'm not against some things like holding property and being able to get jobs, but the hatred of men, the hatred of being a homemaker, the hatred of raising children was just steeped in everything. As I was growing up. And so I think that was one thing that really started that seed in my heart, that you will be miserable if you don't go and have a career. If you have a career, this is not a knock on you. This is just me sharing my story. So we all have different stories. But if you don't have a career, if you aren't able to purchase things, if you don't have all your own money and you get to decide everything you do with your own money, if you're not able to go out and spend and buy lots of things and start something new and all these things, you will be miserable. So I found that seed was planted a long time ago in those 90s movies and the 90s way of thinking for me. So that was the first thing. The second thing was Satan. Satan whispers in our ears and tells us things that are not true. And if we don't recognize that it's him and we think it's our thoughts, then we start evaluating them instead of just being like, no, I'm spending time on this. So that was another thing. So over the time, I recognized that, as I accumulated all of these things and I thought they'd make me very happy, all they did was bring me stress. I would get them and I would be like, I can't even spend time reading this. I would shelf the book, or I would, but there were a lot of books I did enjoy. I'm just saying that there was an excess of things that I bought over the last, 14 years. And then, and that's like since we've had children and we've moved a lot. And yeah, so as I started cleaning out and as I started to say, what will I actually read again, like for the first time, use with my children, like to have on hand for when they get older and they have questions. Like, as I started asking myself those questions, it became a lot easier to just go, oh, I don't need all this other stuff. It's easy. Or like I have some mugs here that I just gotten recently and I had left out here. So these mugs are beautiful. They're so beautiful and they make me really happy, like drink coffee out of them or whatever. This one says made with love and it's just lovely. And the other one is God is the strength of my heart, Psalm 73:26. And it's just so pretty. And they feel so good in my hands. So there are some things that I've decided to keep. I found this picture at Hobby Lobby and it reminds me of the faithful women of God in the Bible and I love to look at it. Or these images we got from our priest. I love Our Lady of Victory, so I always keep this. But there's also this one, Our Lady of Fatima. One of our children are named for some of the names from Our Lady of Fatima. And so like little things, and I'm looking around and like being very specific about what I keep. Our homeschool room is very simple now, if I can show it to you. I don't know if you remember what it looked like before, but I have one bookshelf, a couch, a little table for the kids, our sacred space, my sewing table in the kids' homeschool space, and then my desk that I sit at, which is very minimal now. Everything is off the walls. My husband's gonna repaint because I was cleaning and I realized I had ripped off a whole bunch of paint when I was putting stuff on my wall. So he asked me to go and take it down so he could repaint, and then I'm gonna be very intentional about what I put back up. And I'll show you guys if you want to see those things because they're really sweet. I only kept 4 things to put back on the wall and then the bulletin board, of course, for my table and the kids. But my point in all of this is to say that those lies that I let control me for so long, the vice of obsession that was like this catalyst for so many things, there are ways to combat the things that you specifically suffer with. I don't consider this a teaching channel. I don't feel like I'm able to do that. I don't feel called necessarily to do that. I feel called to share and encourage. But I do think it's important to share these things as women, especially in the home, and we want to learn how to live out our vocations as best as we can. So like I said before, whatever vice that you're suffering with, if you can pray and ask the Lord to help you identify with it. So for me, it was obsession. Like, I don't even know if that's technically a vice, but that is, for me, a vice, something that I struggle with. So it's about taking the proper steps. So physically speaking, when I'm on thyroid medication, it's way better. When I'm not on the right dose or I try to get off of my thyroid medication, the obsession got really, really strong. So from a physical standpoint, sometimes people can, need medication. I have friends that are on antidepressants. I'm not trying to say I promote that, but I have friends that their antidepressant really, really helps them function better as a wife and a mother. So I'm never against like having medication to help us in our walk. This is a fallen world. It's not perfect. Yes, God can heal, but God can also heal through different things. So for me, physically, having my thyroid medication really, really does help me. Having good gut health has they're so loud. Sorry. Like, especially my 5-year-old, he is so intense and he's happy and playing, but he's really intense. Having a healthy gut is really important to me as well. It helps me function better. So staying away from certain foods that aggravate my gut is really important too. From the spiritual standpoint, giving most of my time to prayer and my family is really important. So I have a Titus 2 woman, Miss Beth, and she is so helpful and so wonderful. And I've reached out to her throughout many, many years and asked her questions. And recently I asked her about this question: what's wrong with me? Why am I obsess about things? I try to figure out who I am. Like, am I this way? Am I that way? Should I wear only dresses and skirts? Should I wear pants? Like, how am I supposed to live a holy life? And I was really, really having a hard time with this. And I emailed her and she sent me the most holy, helpful response. It was so simple and so holy, and that's why I reach out to her, because that is like what she does. Okay, so identifying your vice is really important if you're able to, whether you have a spiritual director, whether it's through prayer, and then finding the appropriate virtue that combats that vice. For me, it was a couple. Prudence and temperance were really important. And also being able to tell myself, you are not going to do this right now. You are going to do this thing over here. So when I was talking about prayer before, so in the morning when I woke up, instead of getting on raw vegan channels about how to be super healthy, or getting on minimalist channels and how to clean out, I would breathe and stop, and I would put on the St. Michael Chaplet with Mother Angelica. That was a huge part of my conversion. I used to work at a bar, and I would sit in this little pool table area with these little TVs during my break, and I would eat my salad and I would watch Mother Angelica. I would sit there, and I remember I had a salad. It's almost been lunchtime. And I was just coming into Catholic Church. And I remember, I feel that there were graces that were given to me that helped me during that time to finish becoming Catholic. Yes, I had some tumultuous time right after that where I left the church and came back and everything. And then my husband came to the fullness of the faith. But yeah, so I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I try to remember to do is to put that on. Even before my bluegrass music, my Waylon Jennings, anything. I try to put that on. In the early years, I put on the Angelus that was sung by these beautiful religious sisters, their voices. Starting the day out with God. Maybe I can't say all of it, but I can listen to it as I'm cleaning and picking things up from the night before. So physically and then spiritually, and for me, this is real life. They're playing and having fun, but they are so loud. So that's what you're always gonna hear on this channel. I will never wait till everybody's asleep, tucked away, go in some silent room. That's just not part of what I'm called to. I'm called to this. Sharing this about my vocation with my kids, being funny and loud and running around in the background. And of course they're tended to, so. But anyway, and then for me, it became, then the emotional aspect of it, not letting myself get sucked into every marketing thing that I see. Oh, even if it's Catholic and so good and holy, like I don't need all of this. I don't need this constant thing. And I don't want to like mention all the stuff because there's some things that are so wonderful, but I'm just saying like, I would get really sucked into like everything, any kind of marketing. So for me, that was emotional. And then the last part is my physical environment. I don't live in a convent, so I can't live like a religious sister. I have a husband, I have children, but we can still have a tidy and cheerful home. And I shared recently on one of my decluttering videos about Saint Jose Maria Escriva, and how he talked about having a cheerful home and a tidy home, and how I think in some ways that's very, very virtuous. So that was the physical around me physically aspect that I really needed to focus on. And as I decluttered and cleaned out the house and spent time in prayer and focused on what was important, God revealed to me and showed me what vices I had, what things I needed to combat, what I needed to do to get through that, and massively declutter the house. And now when I wake up in the morning, even if it's a mess, it's such a simple mess that I can quickly get to it. I can do a load of laundry every morning. I can get the dishes done. I can come into the homeschool room. I can go in the kids' room and just, it's like, and then also I got the kids on their morning and nighttime routines. They are 8, 5, and 3. And they do all this. The 3-year-old I have to help with a lot. But the older boys, they clean their room, they make their beds, they get themselves dressed, they put their pajamas away, they brush their teeth. I have to help them in the back. And the 8-year-old sometimes he'll help get cereal for the little ones in the morning. And now it's become so normal. They just do it. I mean, it took a long time and a lot of tears for them when I was like, we have to do a morning, we have to do a nighttime routine. But even that is so helpful. Having the structure in yourself helps you to give it to your children as well. So basically that's my video for today. And I hope it's been a blessing and encouragement to you. If you're new here, I'd love for you to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and let us stand up strong for the Lord, pick up our rosaries, stay close to the sacraments, and love our husbands and children, and of course, whatever vocation that you're in, to do it the best to your ability by the grace of God.